A guest stole our Thanksgiving turkey. I'm confused and frustrated and need to vent. We hosted Thanksgiving this year, husband and I, our 2 kids, husband's siblings and nieces and nephews, and most importantly, husband's gravely ill mother. We're all at peace that this Thanksgiving and Christmas will probably be our last holiday together. It's been emotional and exhausting, but we really wanted to make a memorable day that everyone would enjoy. Our daughter Mary is visiting from college, and one day before she flew in, she says her boyfriend Chris is actually flying to our city to visit friends over the break. Mary asked if he could come over for Thanksgiving. We've never met Chris before, but to be honest, we're not wild about him. As soon as Mary started dating him, we started seeing some worrying changes in her. Our son, who is just a couple of years older, confided in us that Mary is getting into the party scene largely because of Chris. We've tried gently bringing up our concerns with Mary, but she shuts it down and has started to pull away from us. So because we didn't want to alienate her, we said Chris could visit, but they need to stay in separate rooms. She said that won't matter because he's booked a hotel room and she'll be staying there with him the whole weekend. Okay. Cut to Thanksgiving and Mary and Chris arrive. He's not the greatest. He makes a couple of rude and snide remarks throughout the visit and hits the alcohol way harder than is appropriate. My family was in a very earnest mood, if that makes sense. Lots of emotion, and he was just dismissive and flippant and cast a shadow on everything. At one point, everyone started telling stories about their favorite holidays at mother-in-law's house when she would go all out for family parties. My husband and I stopped working in the kitchen to join the conversation. When we go back to the kitchen after maybe half an hour, I went to check the turkey in the oven and it was gone. Completely missing. I asked my husband if he did something with the turkey and he was just as confused as I was. We looked all over the kitchen and house and couldn't find it. We go out to the living room and ask everyone if they know what happened to the turkey and no one knows what we're talking about. At this point I realize Chris isn't around. I pull Mary to the side and ask where he is because I don't want to jump to conclusions and make accusations. She said he had to leave to go meet up with friends. I asked her to text him and asked if he knows what happened to the turkey and Mary kind of rolled her eyes. At this point it's dawning on me that Chris probably stole the turkey and left out the back door while we were sharing stories with mother-in-law, but I'm so confused why anyone would do something like that. I can't bring myself to actually make the accusation out loud. So we were left in the terrible position of having everything else ready but no turkey. We had to break it to the family that we had no turkey and everyone is confused and sad. Mary said she had to get going to an event with Chris, which deeply disappointed me. I told her as much and she said that she'll see us again later this weekend. My in-laws went driving around to restaurants and grocery stores and pieced together enough stuff that we were able to have a meal much later than expected, but it felt like the whole day was ruined. Everyone was kind of murmuring together about Chris leaving around the time the turkey disappeared, but no one wanted to actually accuse him out loud because it's such an explosive allegation and there's not actually any proof. I'm just confused why anyone would do such a thing and heartbroken because my mother-in-law didn't deserve this at all. At one point, she teared up but pulled it together. I'm also increasingly angry with my daughter because I feel like I can't see anything because she'll just pull away more. Okay, they have an update. I was talking with my son today and he told me that last night Chris started taunting him over text about the missing turkey. So that settles it. Chris stole the turkey basically as a big fuck you to all of us. My son didn't say anything at the time because he didn't want to make people more upset than they already were. I've tried calling and texting Mary, but she is so far ignoring me. That's all I have to say about this.
My mom won't stop drunk driving. As the title says, my mom won't stop drunk driving. And not tipsy, full-blown hammered. My brother and I have tried everything to get her to stop, offered rides, showed up, and tried to force her to take a ride, scheduled Ubers and Lyfts, etc. Nothing works. It's almost a nightly thing. Our houses are on the same property. Today I got home from work and she was in her driveway, still in the driver's seat, passed out drunk. I don't think she will stop until she gets caught. I'll never forgive myself for not doing something if she's hurt someone or herself. My 2 questions. Is there anything other than calling the police to report a drunk driver when I know she's going to get a DUI that I could do? I obviously would prefer not to destroy her career. She'll lose her job with a DUI. But this is the only thing I can think of. And number 2, if that's the route I end up going down, is there any way with the police report, etc., she would be able to find out that it was me who called it in? So let's go ahead and talk about Athletic Greens again. We have their product AG1 over here, and if you guys have been following me for a while, you know how much I absolutely love their products. It has a whole bunch of vitamins, minerals, supplements, and probiotics in there, and you only have to take it once a day. How I personally do it in my routine is I will take either one of the packets or a scoop from this container, put it in my water, and before even eating my breakfast, I will just drink it. And I feel so much more energized ever since I started taking it a couple months ago. My body feels a lot better, my gut health has improved, and honestly, I would say that I've had to rely on caffeine much less compared to before, because now my body is actually fueled with what it needs. I'll be including a link to the product in my description. It will be athleticgreens.com/truthify. That's athleticgreens.com/TRUTHIFY. With my link, through your first purchase, you'll be able to get 5 free AG1 packets and a 1-year supply of vitamin D, which I think is very, very important. It's going to be very good for your body. So if you're interested in checking them out, then please do. I highly recommend them. And let's go ahead and have you guys start taking control of your health.
Am I wrong for sitting on my husband's lap during Thanksgiving dinner because all of the chairs at the table were taken? I, 28 female, have been with my husband, Sean, 33 male, for 2 years. Married for 5 months. Most of his family are decent people, but his mom can be a little passive-aggressive and tends to criticize me a lot. Sean sees it as her still not getting used to me being around, but I don't know, because she treats his ex, Jalissa, good. Mother-in-law says that Jalissa has been around the family for ages and her past with Sean never affected her relationship with her. Fine. I never minded her attending every holiday and being around until yesterday. We had Thanksgiving at my mother-in-law's house. Sean went there before me, and when I arrived, it was already dinner time. Everyone was seated, and I saw that all the chairs were taken. I asked mother-in-law why she didn't save me a seat, and she said sorry, and that one of her granddaughters decided to show up last minute and the chair was taken. I looked at her, then at Jalissa, who was sitting next to Sean, and tried to point out how I was more deserving of her chair since I'm the daughter-in-law. I know I shouldn't have said it, I know. Mother-in-law flat out said that Jalissa is as much family as me and that it was rude to imply otherwise. Jalissa was nodding confidently while glancing at me. I was so upset I wanted to leave, but decided to just sit on my husband's lap and act as casual as possible. I sat on his lap asking if he was okay with it. Don't worry, I'm petite and he's strong-built. And started eating so casually while smiling and complimenting the food and mentioning to Sean how warm and comfortable his lap was now and then. The table went awkwardly silent. Brother-in-law would try to break the silence and change the subject, but it somehow goes back to being awkward. Mother-in-law and Jalissa were barely eating and were staring at each other, then at me, eyes wide open. I'm sorry, I still cannot get over the fact that your husband's ex is at your Thanksgiving dinner. Minutes later, Jalissa excused herself to the bathroom and so did mother-in-law. It was still awkward, but I did my best to focus on dinner. Sean was eating as well. Later, there was just so much tension and mother-in-law was barely able to speak after Jalissa left. She left early, like right after dinner. Sean and I went home and mother-in-law tried calling, but then called Sean and texted me saying that what I did was inappropriate and that I ruined Thanksgiving dinner and made it awkward. She said it wasn't her fault that chairs were taken and that I could have dragged a chair from the kitchen but acted childishly and made Jalissa and family uncomfortable with how inappropriate I was. I need to mention that even if I took a chair from the kitchen, there was not enough space at the dinner table to fit the chair. Everyone was sitting next to each other. I don't understand why his ex is there. Why she has a seat over you. I don't understand. Look, isn't it awkward on her half? Like, why is she there? I would never want to do that. Like people who go to your ex's Thanksgiving dinners and you don't have kids together. Why do you go?
Today I messed up by expecting my family to pay for my birthday dinner. Yesterday I turned 18 years old. For the past 6 years, like clockwork, every day on my birthday, we go to the same place for dinner and I'd always get the same thing. For those who are a bit confused, I have extreme OCD and high-functioning autism, which means I'm very well regulated and like things to stay the same way that they've always been. Anyway, back to the story. Every year on my birthday, we go to Applebee's. The first thing I would get is steak and shrimp parmesan with a side of loaded mashed potatoes and cheesy steamed broccoli. Hate me or not, with a side of mozzarella sticks. In total, it's around $30. A bit expensive, I know. I really couldn't tell that something was off until a bit later, because when me, my mother, my stepfather, and my older brother sat down, they really didn't say anything. I was confused at first and started tapping my fingers on one another like I always do. The conversation went a bit like this. My mother said, "Well?" I was rather confused. "Well?" My mother said, "Aren't you gonna call a waiter over?" This gave me extreme anxiety. I have extreme issues with speaking to people and I tend to stutter and I get very, very scared, if that's the right word. I asked her if she could do it and she does it in a huff. My dad and brother are staring nonchalantly. As she calls the waiter over, the alarm bells are ringing in my head. This is never how it went before. As the waiter gets to the table, he asks everyone what they want and everyone orders. As he gets to me, my mother stops him and tells him, "Separate bill." This is when my heart began beating very fast. I don't know a job. All the money I get is from our neighbors raking leaves. I just kind of freeze. I don't really say anything and I get really bad stomachache from the anxiety. This is where I'm conflicted on whether I'm an asshole or not. My mother would explain at the table that now that I'm 18, I should be able to pay for my own things. I was already feeling nauseous from the situation, so I said that I don't have the money. My mom kind of huffs and shoos the waiter away. This soured the dinner party. However, my mom also paid for my 23-year-old brother. My family was calling me an entitled little a-hole the whole ride home. When I got home, I just ran to my room and cried. They've been ignoring me the whole day. I may be bad at social cues, but my family has never acted like this before. I mean never. They've been treating me horrible the whole day. I feel very angry and upset. If I would have been warned, I would have saved my raking money. I'm just very confused and I'm terrible with social cues. My family gets a little tight on money. I guess I really should have asked before I assumed that they were going to pay it for me. But I missed out on my birthday dinner because I wasn't mature enough to bring my own money. I'm just going to make leaves for a couple of weeks to order it from takeout.